Hi, this is your lecture video on Reconstruction. I've assigned some brief reading on Reconstruction from the Digital History website, and also you find the history of Reconstruction in the John Henry text. I wanted to give you some broader context for understanding the readings from both of those sources. The period of Reconstruction was one in which the nation is reconstructed. It's put back together again in the aftermath of a very bloody and bitter civil war in which over 600,000 Americans perished. The big question coming out of the war was on what terms would the defeated South face. As the recent film Lincoln depicts, and some of you may have seen that film, passage of the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery was not inevitable. But once the amendment was ratified in December of 1865, emancipation came to the largest slave society in the New World, the United States. There were actually two kinds of Reconstruction. There's a presidential Reconstruction under Andrew Johnson, which you'll read about, and there's Congressional Reconstruction. Congressional Reconstruction is really the work of radical Republicans in Congress who were able to gain control over Congress and sort of seize the direction, take control over the direction of Reconstruction from the president and put it into the hands of Congress, into the hands of radical Republicans. Radical Republicans set out to remake Southern society. Their hope was to root out slavery once and for all. And the reason that they're able to do this, in a sense, politically, is because many Northerners had concluded or come to the conclusion that Andrew Johnson's plan, the presidential plan, was far too lenient, and that it actually had, in the end, encouraged white Southern resistance to the end of slavery and encouraged as well their continued allegiance to the secessionist cause. Both of those alarmed many white Northerners. I'd like to emphasize this, so this is sort of my main point. Although radical Reconstruction proved to be a grim period for John Henry and many others, as you'll read about in the book, the period of radical Reconstruction was a unique one for many other Southerners, white and black. During radical Reconstruction, the unexpected happened, and those unexpected things did not happen again for over a century, in any significant way at least, until a century later in the wake of the Civil Rights Movement. What was unexpected was that black men were political actors and leaders in the South. In fact, during radical Reconstruction, the South experienced a form of biracial democracy. More than 2,000 black men held office in the South overall. Tens of thousands were politically active. Two black men served as U.S. senators, Blanche Bruce and Hiram Revels. Revels actually takes the Senate seat, is elected to the Senate seat that Jefferson Davis had once held. Jefferson Davis had been the president of the Confederacy. 15 black men served in the House of Representatives. And while the white Southern majority voted Democrat, about 1/4 of white voters in the South allied with black voters in support of the Republican Party, the party of emancipation. Most of these white voters were Southern-born. We have only had 4 other black senators since Reconstruction. All were elected after 1967, and all are from the North. We've had many black representatives in the House, but the first black member of the House to serve after Reconstruction hailed from the North, Oscar de la Priest, and he began his term in 1929. The first black Southerner in the House of Representatives began her term in 1973, again in the wake of the modern civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s. I speak, of course, of Barbara Jordan, who was a native of Houston. So radical Reconstruction truly was a unique and fascinating period. The digital history reading is going to help you understand, I think, how did black men win the right to vote only a few years after the Civil War and only a few years after the end of slavery? In other words, how did former slaves come to gain and exercise their political rights in the South when only a few years earlier they had possessed no rights at all before white Southern society? And who were these white political allies of black voters? The carpetbaggers and the scalawags, as they were derisively called by their enemies. These are big questions. And the digital history reading, as well as, to some extent, the John Henry book, will help to answer those questions for you. This lecture is meant to offer you hopefully kind of a broader scope, big picture, so that you can go from there and sort of understand the particular story that's told in the John Henry book about how Reconstruction unfolded in that state, in the state of Virginia. And then we will see from there how the momentous events of Reconstruction influenced the course of John Henry's life, but unfortunately in ways that spelled his doom. I'm going to stop there. You all have a good week. Thank you.